Hi, this is Tweek. It's another episode using beaded cluster balls, and this time, they look good enough to eat. I call it eye candy. Supplies you'll need for this project are beads, an assortment, your choice, some wire, some scissors, pliers, assorted findings, and a couple of ribbons. So let's start building. This idea came about as I was playing around with the beaded cluster balls, and look at this one in particular. And it reminded me of one of those special candies you get at Christmas time. Really pretty, but no calories, the best kind of candy. And I thought if I encased that inside of one of the cluster balls, how beautiful that will be. So let's do that. I'm going to take a different kind of bead. It's not round, it's an oval shape. I'm putting out my guide because I live and die by my guide. And I'm going to lay out my beads to make a whole cluster ball. It's going to look a little different because the beads are shaped differently. And there's quite a few beads. There's 30 beads in the whole cluster. I rely so much on this method because when I get out of sync, I can backtrack to where I am. Very, very helpful. So a 4, 3, 3, 3, 2, 3, 2, 2. Missed one, see that? 2, 30 beads total. Now I'm going to zip right through. If you'd like to see a link where we made it a little more instructional, a little slower pace, click right here. So let's get going. We need some wire. It takes more wire to make the full cluster because you're twisting around and winding it in. I'm using a 0.018 bead wire. I like to get a big, long, several feet of wire to work with. And here we go. We start with stringing 5 beads onto the wire. And right away you'll see, because this bead is different, and it's not round, it's the oval shape, creates a different pentagon shape. But boy, does it work well with creating this cluster ball. So anyways, you get the bead shape. Trying to even out my wire best I can. And we come into that last bead here. I'll show you quickly what that looks like when it's strung on there. Just a little bit larger space. Okay? So I'm going to get this. Ooh, look at the difference in the wires. That would be a problem. So try to get this first pentagon shape, the 5 beads down to the middle, best I can. Get these 2 wires evened up. It's just a matter of manipulating the beads, getting them down to the center. I think that's good right there. We've got our left side, our right side. You see my beads have gone off kilter a little bit. And mark it set, we're going. So we have 1 bead left to add to the cluster ball. Because these beads I used are glass crystal and they're oval shaped, you have a little bit of bigger space. in there to fit in the other cluster ball. So I'm just going to pull this apart a little bit because we're going to tighten it back up again. And here's where I have a cluster ball. Will that fit? Now that one is too big for the spot. Those are 8mm beads, so I'm going to go down to a 6, a pretty red one, and I'm hoping that one, yep, that one tucks in. And when we tighten this back up, then we're going to add our last bead, and we will have our cluster ball within the cluster ball. Add the last bead, and it's very, very, very pretty. I think I really like this effect. So there we have the cluster ball within the cluster ball. Now, as with the other, I like to go around the top, skim around those beads, and tighten that up a little bit to give it more strength. As you can see, the effect is so pretty, so lovely. I'm going to make a couple of knots there. I've got a little bit extra wire here, but I'll put it to use. Tighten that off. I want to get in there tight, so I've been using a toe clipper so I can get real tight up next to the knot. Save the wire, and here's what we've got. You could let that stand on its own. I've got others here, but I wanted to make it look like my idea of what a wrapped candy would be. That looks so lovely, so let's do that. I've got 2 half clusters. I'm going to add one on each side. I need a little more space to make it look like a wrapped candy. So I'm going to add a couple of beads. Here again, I'm just playing around with the space I've got. Got some of these elongated, which will add some space. And then I'm going to add 2 square ones and 2 round ones. These round ones will help add space and keep this in place. And the square ones will go inside, and I just like the idea of a different pattern in there. So let's quickly assemble this. We have oblong, round, 2 little half circle ends, and I'll have my candy. I'll add some ribbons, and where's my wire? Let's see. A simple way to have some fun with these beaded clusters. I want, about a foot, a little more. Where's my clipper? Get that clipped. Okay, so I'm going to start at one end. In all, I've got this in half. It's about a foot. And I'm going to take one of the wires and put the first bead. That could be a round bead as well. I just happen to be using a square one that I found. Okay, and then we're going to add it through the center. That's not going to pull through. That's what I'm looking for. Now I want a round bead that's going to kind of plug up that spot. There we go. Familiar pattern, you might recognize that. Now this is going to act as the spacer, like when you have a twisted up candy. It's got that wrapping right around the ball of the chocolate. So we've got that. Now I'm going to look at this and find a spot where you can see through or manipulate the inside ball a little bit. But I'm looking for a spot. I'm going to go through on both sides, through both beads. You could do this one wire at a time if you'd like to. Sometimes I'm real lucky to get it through the first time. Well, luck will have it. I did it. So here's what we have so far. Now, if that seems like too long a distance to you, when you wrap up a candy, you could make it shorter, but I like that look. So I'm going to repeat going the other way. Stick this through this oblong bead. Looks good enough to eat, doesn't it? Way too much wire here. Let me clip some of that off. You can either put a fine hook on here to hang it on the tree, but I'd rather just let it sit somewhere as a little holiday display. Put the crimping bead on. Okay, now I'm going to hold this steady and push down as I crimp. I want that as tight as I can get it. And then I'm going to come in and snip that. Does that look like a piece of wrapped candy? It does, and it needs one more thing. I'm going to put a couple of ribbons. You can take any kind of ribbon that you want, but I liked these red ribbons. They're felt. And they've got some handy dandy wire here that I can use to go around the candy. Let's see if I can get this to work here. Come here. I'm just going to go around a couple times and twist the wire so that it stays. And I'll cut off the excess. And this is just to pretty up the candy. Gosh, it's almost too pretty to even eat. Let me see, do I want to clip? Okay, I guess I don't have to clip off any excess. That looks nice. And then one more on this side. Ah, another one. Beautiful candy. Here's a few other ones. I made a big one. Oh boy, this would be like those giant Hershey Kisses that you see. If that was full of chocolate, it would be all mine. Isn't that pretty? You can make a little display with these. Here's another one. I added a couple findings to sparkle it up a little bit so you could have more fun with it by adding a few more things. And I also put a hook on here. You could use it as an ornament. And another here. This one here, to show you again how simple this could be just by taking ribbon you have kicking around the house. And just take your candy and pop in a bow. It doesn't have to be a fancy piece of velvet, and you could play around with that a little bit. And that's how simple. I actually kind of like it with the easier bow. Isn't that beautiful? You set these under some lights. Oh my gosh, there you have it. Eye candy made with beads and some ribbon and some wire. So if you like what you've seen here today, give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to ring the bell so you know when another episode of Tweeks with Tweek is coming along. Until then, keep making those beaded cluster balls. You can have all kinds of fun and make beautiful things. See you again.